Welcome to this exploration of the surprising power of silence. In this first part, we're going to discover how silence is not merely the absence of noise, but a profound tool for transformation. We often fill our lives with sound, music, television, conversations, so much so that silence can become unnerving. But have you ever considered that within silence lies a secret strength? Let's consider the noise of our daily lives. It's a constant barrage of demands, information, and interactions. Now, imagine cutting through that noise. What happens when we do? Silence allows us to connect with a part of ourselves that is often overshadowed by the clamor of everyday life. It's in silence that we can hear the whispers of our own intuition and wisdom. But how do we unlock this power of silence? We start by creating intentional moments of quiet in our day. It might begin with just a few minutes of turning off all devices, stepping away from the distractions, and sitting with ourselves. It's not about forcefully clearing the mind. It's about allowing ourselves to be present with whatever is there, without judgment. In these moments, we may find a cacophony of thoughts rushing in to fill the void. That's natural. Our minds are used to being stimulated. However, the practice is not to quiet the thoughts, but to observe them without getting entangled. Here lies our first lesson. Silence teaches us to become witnesses to our own minds. The experience of silence is unique to each individual. For some, it might be a peaceful respite. For others, a confrontation with unresolved emotions. Whatever arises, the key is to meet it with compassion. Silence gives us the space to process and understand these emotions, to let them surface and dissipate, rather than suppressing them with more noise. As we become more comfortable in silence, we begin to notice its effects on our well-being. There's a certain clarity that comes when we allow ourselves to disconnect from the external chatter. We become more grounded, more centered. This is the foundation of inner peace. Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lessons. Now let's turn our attention to the quality of our interactions. Have you noticed how often we rush to fill the silence in conversations? We're quick to respond, sometimes without fully listening. Silence can transform our communication with others. By embracing pauses, we give ourselves time to truly listen and to respond from a place of thoughtfulness rather than reflex. This brings us to a powerful realization. Silence is a form of respect. It shows that we value not only our own words, but also the space for others to express themselves. In this space, we're more likely to discover the heart of what's being communicated beyond just the words. But silence is not something we should hoard selfishly. It's a gift that we can offer to the world around us. In a society that often prizes noise and action, choosing silence can be a radical act. It allows us to step back, to observe without immediately reacting. In doing so, we can make decisions that are more aligned with our true intentions. The power of silence also extends to our environment. When we reduce the noise we contribute, we foster a more harmonious atmosphere. This not only benefits us, but also those around us. It's an act of creating peace, one moment of silence at a time. In silence, we also find the roots of creativity. Without the distraction of constant input, we give ourselves the chance to generate original ideas. We tap into a deeper level of creativity that is often drowned out by the noise. As we reach the end of this initial part, consider how you might incorporate more silence into your life. What changes could you make to embrace the quiet? Would you rise earlier, before the world awakes, to savor the tranquility of dawn? Or perhaps allocate time each day to disconnect and reflect? How might silence enhance your life? Echoes of the unspoken. embracing the power of silence for profound self-discovery. In this second part, we explore silence's ability to deepen our self-awareness. Silence is a mirror, reflecting our innermost thoughts and feelings. It allows us to observe the patterns of our mind and the rhythms of our heart. But what does it mean to truly know oneself? To understand ourselves, we must listen, not to the external world, but to our internal landscape. In silence, we can tune into our body's signals, the emotional undercurrents, and the fleeting thoughts that often go unnoticed. This attunement can be startling at first. We may encounter aspects of ourselves that we've neglected or avoided. Self-awareness is not about casting judgment on what we find. It's about recognizing and accepting our complexities. In silence, we can embrace all facets of our being, the light and the shadow. This acceptance is the first step towards self-compassion and personal growth. Silence also reveals the impermanence of our internal states. Emotions and thoughts come and go like waves on the shore. Observing this flow, we learn not to cling to the temporary, whether pleasure or pain. This is a lesson in letting go, in understanding that we are not defined by any single thought or feeling. In the quiet, we can ask ourselves deep questions, not with the intent of immediate answers, but to open up pathways of inquiry. How often do we move through life on autopilot, not questioning our motives or desires? Silence offers us the space to question, to explore, to understand the why behind our actions. It's in these questions that we often find profound insights about our true nature. Let's consider the concept of inner dialogue. Even in silence, our minds are rarely still. There is a constant conversation happening within us. By observing this dialogue, we can discern which voices serve us and which do not. We often have a critical inner voice that can be harsh and judgmental. In silence, we can learn to soften this voice, to replace criticism with kindness. This shift has a profound impact on our self-esteem and our approach to life. Another aspect of self-awareness is recognizing our patterns. We all have habitual ways of thinking and reacting that are so ingrained they seem like part of our identity. Silence helps us see these patterns for what they are, behaviors we've adopted over time. With this recognition comes the power to change, to form new, more constructive habits. Silence also allows us to connect with our intuition. In the hustle of daily life, our intuitive voice can get lost in the noise. But when we quiet the external world, our intuition has a chance to speak. Learning to trust this inner guidance is a powerful step towards living a life that is true to ourselves. Now, let's turn our attention to the body. Silence is not just a mental practice, it's a physical one as well. In times of quiet, we can become aware of the tension we carry, the breath that sustains us, and the subtle sensations we often overlook. This awareness can lead to a greater sense of embodiment, to living more fully within our physical selves. As we conclude this part, it's worth contemplating the role of silence in self-understanding. How might a commitment to silence deepen your relationship with yourself? What truths might emerge if you allowed yourself the space to listen? The unheard symphony, cultivating connection through the art of silence. In this third part, we delve into the profound impact silence can have on our relationships. Silence is often associated with solitude, but its benefits extend far beyond the personal. They ripple out to touch those around us. How, then, does silence influence our connections with others? In any relationship, communication is key, but true communication is as much about listening as it is about speaking. Silence is the soil from which deep listening grows. In the quiet, we learn to listen not only to words but to the spaces between them, to the nonverbal cues that convey so much meaning. Silence in conversation is a powerful tool. It can be a sign of respect, giving the other person space to express themselves fully before responding. It can also be an invitation, a way of encouraging someone to share more deeply than they might in a rapid exchange of dialogue. But silence is not just about what happens in conversation. It's also about the space we give our relationships to breathe, to exist without the pressure to fill every moment with activity or talk. In these pockets of quiet, we often find a deeper sense of connection. It's in the shared silence that we can feel truly close to another, experiencing a bond that words alone cannot create. Consider for a moment the last time you sat in comfortable silence with someone. What did that feel like? There's a certain intimacy in those moments, a trust that says, "I am here with you, just as you are, and that is enough." Yet, silence can also be challenging in relationships. We may fear that silence signifies distance or disapproval. It's important to distinguish between silence used as a withdrawal or punishment and silence that is nurturing and constructive. When we use silence intentionally and lovingly, it becomes a space of potential and growth for both parties. In silence, we also find the opportunity for self-reflection within the context of our relationships. Are we truly present with our loved ones, or are we distracted, half listening, half elsewhere? By choosing silence, we choose to be fully present, to show up for the people we care about in a deeply attentive way. Now, let's explore the concept of conflict. Silence can be a valuable ally when tensions arise. Instead of reacting in the heat of the moment, a period of silence can give us the chance to cool down, to approach the situation with a clearer head. This doesn't mean ignoring the issue or suppressing our feelings, but rather giving ourselves the space to reflect on the best way forward. The power of silence in relationships also extends to the space we create for others to grow. When we refrain from filling every silence with advice or opinion, we offer a powerful form of support. We allow others the room to find their own answers, to learn from their own inner wisdom. This is a profound act of trust and empowerment. As we continue to explore the dynamics of silence in our relationships, we see that it also plays a role in empathy. When we quiet our own inner dialogue, we open ourselves up to truly understand another's experience. We move beyond sympathy, which is feeling for someone, to empathy, which is feeling with them. This shift can transform our relationships, creating deeper bonds and a greater sense of shared humanity. While silence can enhance our personal interactions, it is also vital in the broader context of community. In a group setting, silence can help to level the playing field, giving everyone, regardless of how outspoken they may be, the chance to contribute. It promotes a sense of equality and can lead to more thoughtful, democratic decision-making processes. The practice of communal silence, such as in meditation groups or silent retreats, can also foster a sense of unity and collective consciousness. In these moments, we are reminded that we are part of something larger than ourselves, a community of beings seeking peace and understanding. In silence, we come to realize that our relationships are not just about what we do for each other, but also about the space we hold for each other. How might your relationships transform if you introduced more moments of intentional silence? What deeper connections could be forged in the quiet spaces you share? As we conclude this part of our exploration, we recognize that silence is a subtle yet powerful force within the realm of human connection. It can build bridges, heal wounds, and deepen love. The conversation about the power of silence is far from over. There is one more aspect we have yet to explore: the role of silence in our interactions with the world at large. The quiet revolution, harnessing silence as a catalyst for global change. In this final part, we turn our attention to the impact of silence on our engagement with the world. Silence is often seen as passive, but in truth, it can be a dynamic force for change. How can silence move us from a place of passivity to one of empowered action? First, let's consider the concept of inner peace. Silence is a wellspring of inner peace, and from this peace emerges the strength to face the world with calm and resolve. When we are at peace internally, we are better equipped to navigate the challenges of life. This inner tranquility does not make us indifferent or unfeeling. Rather, it provides a stable foundation from which to act. Silence also allows us to step back from the constant stream of information and stimuli that bombard us daily. In this step back, we gain perspective. We can discern which issues truly matter and where we can make a difference. This discernment is crucial in an age of information overload, where our attention is pulled in 1,000 directions. Moreover, silence enhances our creativity, as we've touched upon earlier. In the quiet, we can hear the whispers of inspiration that are too easily drowned out by the noise of the world. Creative solutions to the world's problems often come from a place of stillness, where the mind is free to wander and explore new possibilities. Silence is also a form of resistance. In a society that often equates noise with power and influence, choosing silence can be a countercultural act. It is a way of rejecting the notion that to be heard, one must shout the loudest. Instead, silence can convey a message just as powerfully, if not more so. Think of moments in history where silence has been used as a form of protest or remembrance. The impact is profound and palpable. But silence is not about disengagement. On the contrary, it's a way of engaging with the world more mindfully. When we are silent, we become more observant, more aware of the subtleties of our environment and the needs of others. This awareness can translate into thoughtful, intentional actions that truly make a difference. In our quest to create change, it's easy to overlook the importance of reflection. But action without reflection can be misguided. Silence gives us the space to reflect on our values, our goals, and the impact we want to have. It ensures that our actions are aligned with our deepest beliefs. As we integrate silence into our lives, we cultivate a sense of patience. Change does not happen overnight, and silence reminds us to be patient with ourselves and the world. It teaches us to appreciate the slow, steady progress and the small victories along the way. Finally, silence connects us to the present moment. It is in the here and now that we have the power to effect change. Too often, we are caught up in regrets about the past or worries about the future. Silence brings us back to the present, to the point of action. As we conclude this exploration of the power of silence, we are reminded that silence is not merely an absence of sound, but a presence of possibility. It is an invitation to deepen our understanding of ourselves and the world around us. By embracing silence, we open ourselves up to new perspectives, insights, and inspirations. We become more attuned to the subtle nuances of our environment and more responsive to the needs of others. In a world that often prizes noise and constant activity, silence is a sanctuary. It is a space where we can retreat, recharge, and reflect on our place in the world. It is a tool that can help us to live more consciously, more compassionately, and more creatively. The journey through silence is a personal and collective one. Individually, it offers us a path to inner peace and self-discovery. Collectively, it can unite us in moments of shared humanity and inspire us to act for the greater good. Silence has the power to transform not only our conversations and relationships, but also our engagement with society and the planet. So let us not underestimate the power of silence. Let us use it wisely and with intention. May we find in it the strength to face our challenges, the wisdom to choose our actions thoughtfully, and the courage to create positive change in the world. Silence is not the end of the conversation. It is an integral part of it. As we move forward, may we carry with us the lessons learned in the quiet, the understanding that sometimes the most profound communication happens without a single word being spoken.